He looked straight through me like I didn't exist. That was the first moment I felt it, that crack in the floor beneath me. I'd just wrapped up a meeting with Stratex where I locked in $1 million extension. And when I walked back into the office, I passed Logan in the hallway. He gave me that tight, polite nod people use when they don't really recognize you. My name's Darren Whitaker. I'm 53 years old. I live in Anderson Township, just outside Cincinnati. And up until 6 months ago, I was the senior project lead at a mid-sized tech consulting firm called Halston and Reed. For nearly a decade, I managed our most important client, Stratex Logistics. They weren't just big, they were the account. More than a third of our revenue came through them. But the moment Logan was hired as company president, I felt the temperature shift. He was 35, sharp suit, Harvard type, clean-shaven, slick haircut, said optics too often. His first all-hands meeting, he stood in front of everyone and said, "Legacy doesn't guarantee future fit." That line sat with me for days. Not because it was catchy, but because it was cold. Logan didn't see people. He saw data points. And I knew exactly what kind of leader that made him. Quick note. Before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. Still, I kept moving. I wasn't the emotional type. I brought in results. And that first quarter under his leadership, I closed a $1.4 million extension with Stratex. No drama, no hand-holding. I'd built that relationship from scratch. Knew their fire drills before they did. No legal back and forth. No board approvals. Just a handshake and execution. But when I submitted the deal internally, something weird happened. Logan didn't acknowledge it. Not an email, not a Slack message, nothing. It didn't feel like an oversight. It felt deliberate. A few days later, in the break room, I overheard him talking with another executive. We need more scalable minds. People who don't cling to past wins like security blankets. He wasn't subtle. I was standing 5 feet away. He looked at me mid-sentence and didn't even blink. That's when the realization hit me. My accomplishments weren't leverage anymore. They were baggage. I didn't confront him, not yet. But I started watching, not just Logan, everyone. Who he promoted, who he ignored. Patterns showed up fast, and I knew if I didn't play this right, I was next in line for a slow, silent execution. I kept my head down and did what I always did. Produced. Clean deliverables, 0 client complaints, ahead of schedule and under budget. After that $1.4 million Stratex extension, I figured it was time. I put together a formal salary adjustment proposal. No fluff, just numbers. My deal sheet, revenue tracked over the last 4 years, industry benchmarks, and performance history. If anyone deserved an increase, it was me. I sent it straight to Logan's inbox, subject line clear, comp review proposal, Darren Whitaker. No emotion, no politics, just value. A week went by, then 2, no reply. No red flags on the email either. It showed as unread. That was the part that stung. He didn't even open it. I followed up, once, then again 4 days later. Still nothing, not even a received. A few mornings after that, I walked into a project sync. Regular Monday check-in, low stakes. Logan was supposed to sit in virtually, but instead, it was Taylor leading. Kid couldn't have been more than 27. MBA candidate, always wore sneakers with his blazer like he was auditioning for a startup docuseries. While we were waiting for the last person to join the call, Taylor leaned over and said, "You know Logan doesn't bother with comp requests unless they come from execs, right?" He laughed like it was a joke. I laughed too, just enough to pass. But inside, my stomach flipped. Before we go further, quick question. How's your day going, and where are you joining from? I knew what Taylor's little dig meant. I wasn't in the room anymore. The real room. The one behind the meetings. The one where decisions got made. A couple days later, the blow landed. I walked into our Stratex Q4 planning session, same one I'd led for the past 9 years. I always sat on the right side of the table, closest to the display. That was my seat. My name had been on every strategic roadmap since the account's onboarding. But that morning, Taylor was already sitting there, laptop open, coffee half finished. Logan was at the end of the table, scrolling his phone. He didn't even look up when I walked in, just said, real casual, "Taylor's taking lead here. Time to inject some new thinking." I froze mid-step. For half a second, I thought he was kidding. Then I saw the Stratex agenda slide, Taylor's initials under every bullet. I forced a smile, sat 2 seats down, and pulled up the doc on my laptop like nothing happened. But inside, my pulse was hammering. It wasn't just a reassignment. It was an announcement. Logan had picked his guy, and it wasn't me. Taylor started the meeting like it was his 50th time doing it. So, we reviewed the Q3 numbers, and we've got some compression on the warehouse ops module. He wasn't bad. That wasn't the problem. The problem was I'd built that ops module from nothing. I'd spent nights ironing out bugs and personally running client demos when the UI broke mid-call. I owned that account, and now I was watching it get handed off like a stale donut. After the meeting, I stood in the hallway by the elevators, just out of earshot, listening as Logan clapped Taylor on the back. "Nice tempo," he said. "Keep leading from the front." Not a word to me, not even a glance. I got in the elevator alone and didn't press the button for a few seconds. Just stared at the closed doors. My fists were clenched so tight, my knuckles were white. This wasn't some slow fade. This was surgical, quiet, efficient, and deliberate. They weren't waiting for me to leave. They were clearing space to replace me, and they were doing it with a smile. 2 weeks later, the next cut came quiet. No email, no meeting, no heads up. Just a calendar invite titled Edgemark Transition, Taylor Lead. Same format as always, sent by Taylor's assistant like it was routine. Edgemark Freight had been one of my clients for 6 years. I got them through a brutal system migration and a near walk away over a billing issue. Their VP once told me, "You're the reason we haven't shopped vendors in years." But apparently that didn't mean a damn thing anymore. I sat staring at that calendar block for a full minute, jaw locked. Then I stood up, walked straight to Logan's office, and knocked. He didn't even look up when I stepped inside, just kept tapping away on his tablet like I was part of the furniture. I stayed calm. "Got an invite for an Edgemark transition," I said. "Didn't realize they were moving." Logan nodded, eyes still on the screen. "We're diversifying exposure. Taylor needs to own something end to end." That was it. No explanation, no performance talk, just a sentence that boiled down to, "We don't need you anymore." I stood there for another few seconds, waiting. Nothing, no further comment. He was already on to whatever came next. I turned and walked out. Didn't slam the door, didn't say a word. Outside, it was already dark. I got in my car and just sat there with my hands on the wheel. And then it hit me like a punch to the chest. Not anger, not even shock. Just this heavy, bitter wave of loss. Like someone had gutted the center out of me and left the shell sitting there in traffic. I let myself break down. Quiet, no yelling, no fist pounding, just raw, heavy silence. Because I couldn't do it inside that office. Not in front of those sharks. Logan had made himself clear. I wasn't valuable. I was inconvenient. My results were now just bullet points in his pitch deck. My client loyalty, his bragging rights, and my future at that firm, already erased from the whiteboard. But I didn't miss a day of work. I showed up, same time every morning, shook hands, delivered tasks, smiled when needed. Didn't flinch when Taylor started signing emails with strategic lead. Because I had a different goal now. I wasn't going to rage quit. I wasn't going to write a long goodbye memo. I was going to outthink him. So I started collecting. Quietly, nothing shady, just facts. Performance reviews, contract renewals, project metrics tied to my name, screenshots, emails, memos. Every decision I'd influenced, every fire I'd put out, every dollar I'd saved. Not for revenge, not to gloat later, for leverage. Every shark in that building thought they were circling a sinking ship. But I wasn't going under. I was loading the lifeboat and planning my exit. I didn't skip the meeting, even though I wasn't technically on the Q3 strategy list anymore. I showed up anyway. Blazer pressed, button down tucked, coffee in hand like I still ran the room. It was held in the big upstairs conference hall, full company sync. People buzzing, voices bouncing off the glass walls. Logan sat at the head of the table, cool as ever. Taylor was next to him, grinning like a guy who just bought his first Rolex. I slipped into a back row seat. No fanfare, no greetings, just nods. Quiet ones. I didn't care. I was there to listen, to watch. Logan kicked things off with a slideshow and buzzwords. Efficiencies, pipeline visibility, adaptive scale. Same polished garbage we all knew meant cuts were coming. Taylor chimed in here and there, pitching new ideas like he was already second in command. No one interrupted him, No one questioned a thing he said. About halfway through, Logan clicked to a slide labeled in big bold letters, Resource Optimization. He stopped talking for a beat, let the silence stretch. Then he looked up, scanned the room, and dropped it. Some folks think tenure equals value. His eyes locked on mine. That's outdated thinking. The air went still. Adapt or move on. That was it. No names, no direct call-out. But every head in that room turned my way. Quick glances, side eyes, then back to the screen. And Taylor, he smirked, just a flicker, like he'd been waiting for that moment. I stared straight ahead, didn't blink, didn't twitch, just kept my jaw set and hands folded like nothing had happened. But inside, I felt like I'd been kicked in the ribs in front of a crowd. The rest of the meeting dragged on. Talk about Q4 planning, new client targets, tech stack upgrades. My body sat there. My mind didn't. I couldn't stop hearing his voice. Adapt or move on. It wasn't just a jab. It was the final warning. He wanted me out. And now he'd said it loud enough for everyone to hear without saying my name. Smart move, slick, no paperwork, no HR trail, just shame. But he made one mistake. He thought I'd crumble in public. He thought humiliation was a kill shot. It wasn't. It was fuel, so I sat there, still, didn't defend myself, didn't storm out. I waited until the meeting ended, then stood up slow, gathered my things, and walked out without saying a word. Out in the hallway, I passed Taylor. He gave me a fake grin like we were still on the same team. Hey, solid session, right? I didn't answer, just looked him up and down and kept walking. He'd won this round, sure, but I wasn't done. Logan thought he'd buried me in that room. What he didn't realize, I was already digging my way out, with a map he didn't know I had. I got home that night and didn't even take off my shoes, walked straight to my office, turned on the desk lamp, and fired up the old work laptop. I wasn't angry anymore. I was focused. For the next 5 hours, I combed through emails, files, archived decks, client statements, anything I could pull from the last few years. I wasn't looking for dirt. I was looking for leverage. Around 2 a.m., I opened a thread I'd forgotten about. Subject line, checking in. It was from Melanie Green, COO at Stratex, dated 6 months ago. If you ever decide this place doesn't value you, reach out. We'd be lucky to have you. I froze. That one line lit up in my chest like a fuse. She'd sent it after I helped them dodge a major integration disaster, something our firm nearly fumbled until I stepped in. I'd shrugged it off back then. Loyal company guy, right? Thought I'd die with a Halston and Reed badge on my chest. But now, that line read like a parachute. Still, I didn't respond. Not right away. I waited 3 full days. Not because I wasn't tempted, but because I needed to move like a man with options, not a man scrambling for the exit. On the 3rd morning, I sent a message. Simple. Would love to chat informally. Let me know when's good. 15 minutes later, she replied, tomorrow at 9 a.m. Work for you? It sure as hell did. I took the call from my truck, parked in the far end of the office lot. Didn't want to risk anyone overhearing. Melanie didn't waste time. We're building a new internal division, she said. Client strategy, long-term architecture. You're already doing the job. We just want you doing it for us. I stayed quiet, let her keep going. Full remote, full control. No layers of approval. You build the team, set the vision. I just need results. My fingers were tapping the steering wheel, not from nerves, just adrenaline. What kind of timeline? I asked. 2 weeks if you're ready. We've already got budget. I nodded to myself. It was everything I wanted, everything Logan never even thought to offer. No more politics, no more optics, just trust and autonomy. But I didn't say yes, not yet. I'll follow up, I told her. Just want to make sure I exit clean. Melanie's voice didn't flinch. Whatever you need, Darren. We're ready when you are. She hung up, and I just sat there, engine off, heart pounding in the silence. For the first time in months, I felt clear. Logan had his boardroom, but I had my next move lined up, quiet, clean, and powerful. I didn't jump the second the offer came in. Took my time, asked questions, got the numbers, reviewed the fine print. But if I'm honest, I was already gone. I just hadn't packed my things yet. Back at the firm, the cracks were starting to show. Edgemark, the client Logan reassigned to Taylor, suddenly stopped returning calls. No updates, no feedback, just silence. I overheard Taylor whispering to one of the analysts, "They said they're evaluating vendor fit." That's corporate speak for "we're about to walk." Then MergeTech reached out, wanted a full audit of all deliverables from the last 2 quarters. I knew what that meant too. They smelled something burning and wanted receipts before it spread. Logan blamed market volatility. Said clients were being cautious. Bulletin. They weren't cautious, they were fed up. He'd cut out the people who actually knew the clients, who built trust, who solved the real problems, and replaced them with fast talk and shallow fixes. Then came the collapse. Late Friday afternoon, my inbox pinged. I recognized the sender instantly. Melanie Green, Stratex COO. Subject line, notice of termination. Just one sentence in the body. Contract terminated effective immediately. No call, no follow-up, just gone. I heard it before I saw it. Logan's door slamming, followed by muffled shouting from his office. 10 minutes later, I passed the glass wall and saw him pacing like a caged animal. Taylor sat at the conference table, pale and stiff, fingers frozen over his keyboard. The whole floor buzzed, people whispering in hallways, Slack lighting up with question marks and half-truths. I sat at my desk and kept typing, quiet, focused. It didn't take long. By Monday morning, Logan cornered me in one of the smaller boardrooms. Door already closed. No assistants, no coffee. Just him and me. He was standing when I walked in, arms crossed, jaw tight. "Appreciate you making time," he said. I didn't answer, just sat down and waited. He paced a little before jumping in. "We're trying to get ahead of the optics around Stratex. A lot of chatter, and I want to make sure we're aligned on messaging." I raised an eyebrow. "Messaging?" He nodded like we were partners. "Yeah, we're planning to reconnect with key accounts, show continuity. I wanted to ask, do you have any insight into why they pulled out?" I kept my face blank. "No idea." He narrowed his eyes. "They contacted you, didn't they?" I shrugged. "They're not required to explain contract decisions." He exhaled, sharp through his nose. "Look, I'm not here to point fingers. We might have misjudged the timing on some transitions. That's on us." I said nothing. He sat down across from me, finally still. Voice dropped a notch. "If you can help us re-engage them, I'd appreciate it." I let that hang for a second. Then I stood. 6 months ago, I sent you a proposal outlining everything that would have kept them loyal." He blinked. I kept going. "You didn't open it." His mouth parted like he was about to talk, but I cut him off. "I'm joining Stratex, starting next week, leading their new strategy unit." His face drained, like someone had just shut off the power. "You're serious?" "Dead serious." He didn't say anything after that, just stared like he couldn't believe it. I pushed my chair in. "Optics handled," I said. Then I walked out. I didn't clean out my desk. There wasn't much left to take. A couple of pens, a coffee mug with a faded Stratex logo, and an old notebook I hadn't touched in months. Over time, little by little, I'd already been erased. No announcements, no send-off. Just another quiet morning. I walked through the office one last time, calm, eyes forward. Nobody looked up, nobody said a thing. Same way they'd treated me for months, like I didn't matter. The only sound was my shoes on the floor and the soft hum of people pretending to work. I hit the elevator button and waited. As the doors opened, I heard footsteps behind me. "Hey," Taylor said. I turned. He was standing there, backpack slung over one shoulder, face unreadable. "You leaving?" "Yup." He blinked, hesitated. "You going to Stratex?" I didn't answer, didn't have to. His face told me he already knew. He gave this tight nod, like his jaw didn't quite want to move. "Good luck." I nodded back. Then the elevator doors shut. Down in the garage, the air felt different, cleaner, lighter. Like I'd finally dropped a 200-pound anchor. I got in the truck, backed out slow, and didn't once look in the rearview mirror. 30 minutes later, I was home, cracked open a cold beer, sat at the kitchen table, and powered up my laptop. Logged into my new email, darren.whitaker@stratexsolutions.com. There it was, first message at the top of the inbox. "Welcome to the team. Let's build something exceptional together." I leaned back in my chair and just stared at the screen. Not out of disbelief, out of peace. The firm I left behind, they were unraveling. Clients weren't asking for them anymore. They were calling me. Because legacy matters, quiet loyalty matters. And when the right person walks away, they don't leave empty-handed. They take the foundation with them.